All right, so here I've got this next example um, using some semester grades, but I want to show you how to calculate the cumulative relative sum, or sorry, the cumulative relative frequency using the NumWorks calculator. But I'm actually not going to use this example here. All right, the example I'm going to use is the previous one with hair color, right? Blonde, black, blonde, and brown. Okay. Because I've already kind of got that in the calculator. Now, the steps that I'm going to follow are the same ones here. Okay. So what's kind of advantageous about this is that there'll be a video with one example, and then you've got guided instruction on a second example. All right. So that's the method to my madness is I'm trying to give you two separate examples that you can follow in order to learn how to use your calculator correctly. Okay. So having said that, let's go ahead and move on to the NumWorks calculator. And this is that previous example where we had hair color. So the frequency of black, the frequency of blonde, and the frequency of brown. And this column here, which says frequency, this was actually relative frequency, right? So the relative frequency of black hair was 30%, the relative frequency of blonde hair was 28%, and the relative frequency of brown hair was 42%. And so what's really nice is that this calculator makes it really super easy to calculate the cumulative relative frequency. All you need to do is make sure that you've got this frequency header selected. So make sure that frequency N1 is selected. Hit OK. Scroll down to where it says cumulative frequencies and notice that it's off. Okay, this is what it looks like when an option is turned on. It's highlighted yellow or orange, and the slider is over to the right. This is turned on. So if I come over here, notice that this is turned off because the slider's to the left and it's gray. If I click OK, and notice it says cumulative frequencies display the column. So if I click OK, it doesn't look like it did anything, but it's now on. And if I click this back button or this return to button, notice now it has a new column called cumulative frequency, and it didn't do it. It didn't do it right. It didn't do it right. Okay, so I ran into a bit of a problem. Okay, and the problem that I ran into is that with cumulative relative frequency, this first value should have been 0.3. And then the second value here should have been 0.3 plus 0.28. So this one should have been 0.58. And this one should be 1. And I'm trying to understand why that happened. So I kind of recreated this a little bit in the next column over. And so for my values, I didn't put 15, 14, and 21. Instead, I just put 1, 2, 3. And I took these frequencies here, 0.3, 0.28, and 0.42, and I just copied them over here. And then when I did the cumulative relative frequency there, I got what I expected. 0.3, 0.58, and 1, right? Because the first cumulative frequency will be the first relative frequency. And then 0.3 plus 0.28 gives us 0.58. 0.58 plus 0.42 equals 1. So this matches, the lecture notes that I gave you, where I created kind of like this other copy in this table over here. So I can't explain why it works here. The cumulative frequency works here, but doesn't work over here properly. All right, can't explain it. So let me just kind of show you really quick, how I made that in that second table, frequency table here off to the side. So let's recreate that. So let me go back, let me go to the other calculator that I've got. So notice here that this gives us the incorrect cumulative relative frequency. And over here, this one's blank. All right. So because we've got, three values here, then in this second table for V2, I'm just going to label this 1, 2, and 3. And maybe this is what makes the difference. Okay. I'm not quite sure. Okay, now we want to take these values in this column N1. We want to copy these over to this column over here, which is N2. So what we're going to do is select this N2 column header, click OK, fill with formula, make it empty. And so N2 is going to be equal to the values from N1, okay, that other table. So we're going to put Shift Alpha N. The number 8 key has this N here. N1. Boom. Now they just get copied over. Right. Let's kind of verify. 0.3, 0.28, and 0.42. 0.3, 0.28, and 0.42. And then with this N2 column selected, click OK. Scroll down to cumulative relative frequencies and turn that on. Then go back. And voila, they will be correct. Okay. So the first cumulative relative frequency should be the first one. And then 0.3 plus 0.28 gives us 0.58. And 0.58 plus 0.42 gives us 1. I cannot explain why setting it up this way works and setting it up this way does not give us the correct answer here for cumulative relative frequency. It should. I don't, there's something about this calculator I don't understand correctly. All right. But it's instructive that that you learned from this mistake. Okay. So just know that this calculator is great. It does some cool things, but kind of know its caveats as well. All right. Thank you. Let me know if you have any questions.